Before AutoCAD introduced the idea of annotative scaling, annotation objects like text, dimensions, and leaders needed to be inserted into the drawing and scaled up to match whatever the drawing scale was. The need to scale these objects created one extra step in the process of labeling your project. There were workarounds. You could have multiple styles for the various scales that you work with. That ended up creating a lot of extra styles. Or you could have one style that was scaled at 1:1. You'd have to insert that annotation and then scale it up, and you could copy and paste it throughout your drawing. And the list goes on. Either way, these workarounds are clumsy and inevitably add extra steps to the process of labeling your drawings. So then AutoCAD comes along and introduces the annotative scale feature. And what that does is whenever you bring in an annotation object into your drawing, it recognizes the annotative scale of the drawing and it sizes appropriately. It eliminates the step of scaling your annotation objects to the scale of the drawing. AutoCAD does this for you automatically. In my opinion, the real time saving here is that you're able to label your drawings right from the ribbon or toolbar. You can click on the annotation that you need, like let's say you need an M-text, and click in the drawing and start typing and you're done. You don't have to take that extra step of scaling your annotation. It makes the annotation of your site frictionless and more efficient. Okay, so let's hop into AutoCAD and I can demonstrate these concepts a little bit better. Okay, so you can see I have some random shape here. It's kind of like a building. I'm going to use this for demonstration purposes. In the paper space, I have two layouts, a 20 scale layout and a 5 scale layout. Let's start out with the M-text. I've preloaded this drawing with two different text styles. We have the annotative text style and the non-annotative text style. So let's say I want to add a M-text into this drawing. I'm going to put the word window. Now you can see the text comes in very, very small. I'd have to go into the properties and manually change the text height. I'm going to make it 2 because I want the text to show up in paper space at a height of 0.1 inches. So if my drawing scale is 20, I multiply that times 0.1, and that gives me 2. Now conversely, I'm going to use the annotative text. So I will choose the annotative text style. And I'm going to go down to the bottom right-hand corner where you can see the annotation scale of the current view. And I'm going to change that to 20. So now any annotations that I make while this is set to 20 are going to come in scaled appropriately for a 20 scale drawing. So let's go ahead and click on the M-text button. And I'll say window. And automatically it is sized correctly for a 20 scale drawing. Now let's say that I want to detail this corner of the building at 5 scale. Okay. All I have to do is change that annotation scale to 1:5. So I can type in MT into the command line and I'm going to label window. And it's sized appropriately for a 5 scale drawing. Let's look at these a little bit. If I click on this and go into the properties, you'll see that the annotative property is set to yes, and the annotative scale is 1:20. Okay, so let's go into paper space. The one thing about these annotative scales is you'll notice in the 5 scale viewport, it's not showing the text that has an annotative scale of 20. So it's kind of a nice feature. You don't have to have multiple layers for the different sizes of text. Go in and you set the annotative scale, and the viewports are going to do the work for you of sorting out what's going to be shown where. So the 5 scale viewport is only going to show the 5 scale text, and the 20 scale viewport is only going to show the 20 scale text. So let's go back into model space. Let's look at the dimensions real quick. I'm going to set my scale to 20, and I have two different dimension styles. I have a non-annotative and an annotative. I'm going to label, or I'm going to dimension this wall right here. You can see it comes in very small. So what I have to do is go into the overall scale and manually set that to 20. Now, if I use the annotative dimension style, I do the same exact thing, and it comes in at the right size without me having to go into the properties and rescale it. It does it automatically. And then I want to dimension this length right here, but I'm going to do that at 5 scale. Okay, perfect. It's already set to 5 scale. Let's go into paper space. So you can see the viewports have sorted out the different dimensions. Okay, let's go back into model space. I think you get the idea here. We have our leaders, and I'll choose the non-annotative first. I don't think I need to go into a lot of explanation on what my theory is here. So obviously the non-annotative comes in small. I have to go into the properties and I have to change the overall scale. Okay, so we manually scale that up and it comes in at the right size. Alternatively, we use the annotative version. That's set to 5 scale. And then let's change it to 20. And it automatically comes in at the right size. And then in paper space, again, the viewports are selecting what they are showing dependent on the annotative scale of the object. Okay, let's move on to blocks. Let's grab the keynote with the leader. Our annotative scale is set to 20, so you can see that the keynote comes in at the appropriate size. I'm going to change this to the circle style. Go ahead and change the annotative scale to 5, and then go into the tool palette and grab the keynote again. Change that to circle. Let's go into paper space. And once again, if we move this into the 5 scale window, you'll see that it does not show up over here because this object is set to a scale of 20. It's only going to show up in the 20 scale viewport. I hope this was helpful for you. I really encourage you to explore, if not adopt, the annotative scales. Obviously, they're relatively small time savings, but think about how many annotations you add to your drawings during the course of a project. The cumulative effect of these time savings is really going to add up, in my opinion. If you found this at all helpful, please consider visiting my website. I would love to hear from you on this subject. If you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments below, or you can get to my email from my website and reach out to me directly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.